day of the week I am, Mayor, by who I talk to that day.
It's the same thing. Wednesday's Shelley Day.
So what's been happening since we talked last Wednesday?
We got our second canoe kayak launch in at Community Park. I don't know if we had mentioned that last week that we were going to do it, I think, but it is in now and has been used. So both kayak launches are in, and I have seen kayakers on the river. I don't know if they went in on our launches, but that's the hope. And the social distancing is easy because you don't want anybody within 6 feet of you in a kayak anyways. And the DPW pickup was this week for brush. So that means next week, no, but yes, the week after.
I do have a question on the launch. I thought about this when you mentioned it last week, and I forgot to ask. Obviously, you're touching the launch when you're getting in and out. Are there wipes or sanitation, or do people need to bring their own, which we should anyway, but gloves and all that stuff when they're going on and off the kayak?
All we've asked, I haven't asked Steve about that. What we've asked people to do is if somebody is launching, to stay back until they get off the launch so that you're not standing right on top of them. It's probably something we should think about doing maybe every morning, go down and wipe down the equipment. There are a couple of railings that you can use, and they may be doing that. I just didn't hear Steve say that specifically. One thing with the brush, and we've talked about this now, this is about the third time it's been brought up. Maureen Butler sent me a message that she's gotten a few phone calls from people who put plastic or rubber trash cans out full of brush and it didn't get picked up. And as we've said to people, we're not getting out of trucks and dumping those. If you have them and you put them out, say on Saturday for Monday pickup, maybe on Sunday night before you go to bed, you may want to dump it at the side of the road, off the road, and then it'll get picked up. We're just trying to do everything we can safety wise to not have our guys get out of trucks, touch a can that somebody else has touched. It sounds petty, but every little thing we can do to make our guys feel safer is that much better. Mo wanted me to remind people that are paying water bills that there are 3 ways to pay. We have the drop box. You can send it by mail, hopefully with a check, or you can go on our website and we do have the credit card hookup where you can pay. It's a slight fee, but if it saves you having to get in the car and come down and put it in the drop box or whatever, it's probably worth it to you. And we've been very pleased that people have responded. And some people, calling and saying, I want to make sure we know you need the money to keep the village running. And we certainly appreciate that. The seniors, still getting a solid number of phone calls regularly on little things. Where can I get a jigsaw puzzle? Do you have any fabric so I can do some crafts? Because we do have a craft room there where we have fabric and that type of stuff stored. I know Edwina Hay, who makes masks, had asked for Ruth to leave some fabric out on the front porch. So then she picks it up, goes home and makes masks with it. The police department, the only thing I know that Mike reminded me of was something he told you, that right now they're not doing fingerprinting for the public. Before, if you had to you were applying for a job and your boss wanted you to be fingerprinted so they could have that on record, we would do that, usually at no charge for village residents. We're not doing that right now. We're not having people come into the office where there'd have to be any contact. We'll see what happens when things open up. I did get 2 more businesses responded to me when I was asking how business has been during the virus. Atlantic Seafood, if you go by there at a certain time, that they are doing well. Chris says the business has been phenomenal. It's like Lent every week. They lost a couple of employees because of concerns. Somebody lives with an older parent. Someone had problems with daycare, that type of stuff. So he had to bring on a couple of new people, but it's worked very well. And his comment was that people have been extremely kind, generous, and appreciative. And at a time when you can see the worst of people, it's nice that generally they have seen the best in most people.
Nice.
I also heard from Robin at Sweet Dream Candies. Business is okay. Um, I'm not going down without a fight, was her comment. She thought the community has been amazing, which I assume means people have come to shop who really didn't necessarily need to buy candy, but
Right.
thought of her and thought, well, let's help her out a little bit. She also did help out the community. She did 12 bags of treats for frontline workers so that our police department, the ambulance corps, the fire department received bags, and some of them went to the hospitals. So she's, working hard to keep her head above water, and yet she's supporting people that are important to our community. And I hope that while we're going through this, people continue to support our local businesses, but particularly when we get out of this, people are going to look to recover a little bit. And I really hope we remember the businesses that hung in there, and even the ones that didn't, because some couldn't, and by law, salons and so on, that our barber shops and so on, they're hurting. And when they open up, I'm guessing that the barber shops would have a line down the block waiting for people. I'm fortunate my wife can trim my hair up a little bit. Some people wouldn't trust their wife with clippers and scissors in their hands.
There's been some bad pictures on social media of that happening where the wife is kind of.
Yeah. And that's a good way to get even with somebody.
Yes, yes, it is.
You don't know.
I want to mention, you mentioned the candy shop. The other thing that's still happening in the community, which is just, again, amazing about Baldwinsville, is so Sweet Dreams is pairing up with Green Ivy for Mother's Day. So if Green Ivy florist, you have the option when you order flowers for mom to put in the Sweet Dreams candy with it as well. And that's something that before COVID, businesses are always working together. How can I pair up with this business? How can I promote this business? And even in this pandemic that we're in, that's still happening. And I think that speaks volumes to our community. It's just, it's just great.
Yep. And one of the things, I was on a business economic webinar today put on by NICOM. As I was telling you before we went on the air, I think that it was geared more to cities. The four people who spoke about what they're doing in this time of crisis were all cities, which are significantly bigger than we are and have many more businesses and also have bigger economic agencies that they can turn to for financial support. But one of the things that one of them emphasized was businesses have got to really be thinking about the reopening. It's going to be a different world. And what can you do to be creative? And whether it's working together, whether a hair salon says, we've got a gift certificate to, for coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, or, for everybody who comes in, thanks for supporting us. And we want to support other businesses. And I just throw that out there. I was trying to think of one off the top of my head. But like you say, people working together, candy and flowers, which work together nicely.
Right.
And to be thinking very creatively up front before, like if they suddenly say, okay, on June 9th, you can open up with restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start on June 8th at about 11 o'clock at night thinking, what can we do to make this work? Should be working now and talk to people from the chamber, talk to people like you who have contacts with lots of business people, call our code office for suggestions on where would we put anybody out on the sidewalk if we wanted to. I mean, I've thought of the possibility. We have some restrictions on who can use sidewalks for their businesses. And some of that has to do with the space between the business and the curb. Right. But we may have to look at relaxing those a little bit and saying we want people to be able to have people outside. How can we make that work? Maybe the cottage can put some tables out in the parking lot and spread them out.
Right.
If it's a nice day, people won't mind eating their eggs and toast out in the parking lot. There was a picture from Sunday of people in lawn chairs kind of spread out. Everybody looked like they had a cup of coffee, probably had finished their breakfast. And so she's thinking ahead of it, which is great. And we've got a lot of good business people in this village. Turn to them and ask for ideas outside your little box. Again, you're in contact with lots of business people because of the nature of what you do with the Facebook stuff and other stuff, I'm sure you would be a great resource for people. You know, you're kind of creative. I see that those juices flowing all the time. So I would hope that would happen. Let me get a couple things out of the way village-wise. The governor has set September 15th for village elections. So that will be our election that was in March and others that were in March. Those that were scheduled for June, all be moved to September 15th. I don't know at this point if it's going to be mail-in only, or if they figure by that time we can do social distancing and only one person come in at the room at a time, whatever, but we'll have more information. I know the Board of Education, the Board of Elections has been told to send out absentee ballots with postage covered for the June 23rd primaries. And the same thing, I think, for the school board and the budget vote on June 9th. They're going to be sending out mail ballots, and I think the return postage will be taken care of by the school district. Again, all those things could change. That was what I heard yesterday from Ryan McMahon during a meeting with mayors, and I also heard it last week in our regular mayor meeting. NICOM we had 4 representatives from NICOM, and so that came up then. Courts, we still don't know. I asked specifically last night from somebody from the state to give me a clarification, and they don't have one. At the mayor's gathering yesterday, somebody said the end of the month. Somebody said we got a letter saying August.
Oh, wow, that's a big difference.
The thing I read, which was from the unified court system, didn't give any date and said in time we'll get back to normal. Whatever
and
that would
I'm
be.
sure you heard Chief Leffencheck say, you know, they're not bringing people in, they're giving them a letter to be seen at a later date, you know, for minor type of incidents, you know, that involve the police, just because they don't know when they're going to be the courts are going to be open. So.
Also came up the question, people were talking about, they go to Walmart and there's a sign you have to have a mask. Mm-hmm. And then people go in without masks on and nobody says anything. Some stores are a little stricter. Somebody said Target won't let you in without a mask. So there's different levels of enforcement within the store systems. Some of the stores have complained. People said we don't have a mask. Ryan McMahon said if you contact the county and you're in a walk-in business, like maybe the hardware store here in the village or something, that the county would supply a limited amount of cloth masks to give to customers as they come and tell you they don't have a mask, but I need to shop. You know, we don't need more of what we had the other day where guys stopped 3 people and the guard ended up dead because they didn't like the way he treated them. We need to avoid those kind of confrontations, but we also have to make sure that people are equipped. Not everybody has masks.
Can I just share like a little funny story from this morning?
Absolutely.
There was a coffee talk. The chamber, Baldwinsville Chamber, still tries to do the coffee talks. We just do them virtually. And one of the members shared that she was in a store and a woman had run in just to pay for something and put a sock. She must have had a sock in her car, and she put the sock over her mouth, and that's how she came in to cover her face. But the thought was, if she had teenage kids, what did that sock smell like that she put over her face? So people, you know, I've been out. I've wanted to stop somewhere, and for some reason, the mask that I had, you know, I took it in because it needed washed, and I just didn't stop because I didn't have a mask. I would not put my son's sock on my face. I can tell you that right now.
No,
but
that would be a case of picking your poison, right?
Yes.
I know Ryan McMahon was quite proud the other day when he announced that Onondaga County will be the first county, this region in general will be the first area of the state to allow people to go on site and look at cars. But it's with appointment only. So you don't want 30 people showing up at 6 o'clock to look at cars. You call, you make an appointment, you go, you have a mask. The salesman has a mask, takes you to a car, you ride the car, then they wipe the car down. It's clean for the next person who comes along. but it's a step in the right direction. I know with your real estate business, I'm sure you're hoping that that comes sooner rather than later. And, it's going to be a case of they're going to do a few things and then they're going to sit back and wait and see what the numbers look like. And if there's a spike, the next phases are going to take longer to happen, and the phase that opened may get rescinded. I know people get nervous. You got people on both sides of the fence. We need the economy going. We don't need to rush the economy, whatever it might be. But I think if you read between the lines in Onondaga County, at least, we're taking some caution. We want to get business started, and like construction business, manufacturing, within the social distancing regulations, makes sense.
Yeah.
And it gets some money back into the sales tax coffers. We get people back to work. The anxiety levels go down for some people. The different phases. Landscaping is apparently in the first phase. Retail that can operate with curbside pickup, like I don't know if the bookstore, Barnes and Noble, is open.
I don't think so.
They would have curbside pickup available, I think, seeing what they're doing nationally.
Yeah.
So that you order 3 or 4 books, you pay for it online with a credit card, you drive up at a set time. They open up your tailgate of your SUV, put the books in, goodbye. You don't have to see anybody, and you leave the books in your car for a couple of days to let the virus run its course if it happened to be on your bag. And, that would work pretty good. I know that the clothing industry is one that's people are pretty skeptical.
Yeah.
People are having to try on clothes, and then they're having to take them and put them in chambers and clean them. Quite painstaking type process. If it gets you back on your feet, I'm sure it might be worth it. One of the things that is a little unusual with Baldwinsville, we don't have much of typical retail business, and we don't have any clothing places that I'm aware of. We have a lot of insurance. We have a lot of pizza, a lot of beer joints, good eating places. But if you're going to buy birthday presents for people, you got to go out of the village usually.
Well, we have Fashion Rescue, which is Angela's boutique, which is closed, and she moved to online. The other place, which actually I meant to call Terry, one of the owners, because Olive's Eatery, they do curbside pickup. I know I've seen some of their food online, looks good, and I've gone in there for little gifts like the rings and the necklaces.
That's true.
Yeah, those ones. But I don't know if they're open. That store doesn't have like an online presence. Like Angela moved to an online presence for that. So we have like almost like your wife and I were talking about before we went live, all these little nook places, like when you think of the chocolate event and you have some shopping and some chocolate, those are the little places that us villagers know. And sometimes people will come in, the walkability of it, but they're not out there in social media like Pizza Man and, those places. So those are the ones that need to come up with that strategic way. How do we survive?
Well, that's the key, survival. That was probably the word today when I listened to the economic session put on by NICOM. The number one word I heard people talk about was resiliency. The hope is that some of the businesses had enough of money stashed away to get through, the immediate hard time. Sounds like, I've mentioned 4 businesses in 2 weeks now, and they all are doing good to very good. I'm sure it's not the way they necessarily want to operate, but things are going. How long will the state allow alcohol to be distributed by restaurants, and delivery and that type of stuff? I'm kind of wondering when that will be ended, or maybe that will become a full-time thing. Who knows? But what was that? Oh, one of the people said that one of the industries that were struggling is the fitness places. And in this one area in Albany, a lot of the fitness places are now going online and offering some of their training sessions for people who are members to watch be 6 o'clock in the morning, get up. I know Mike Leffencheck does that. I know our granddaughter gets up early and goes to the gym, or was going to the gym, and they're going to offer them so that you can watch it, do them at home. Now you won't have the weights, but as far as stretching and some of those kind of things, and that keeps you going so that when you can go back to the gym, hopefully someday, you're not so far out of shape.
Right.
It keeps you in touch with that business, which is another good planning. See if there was anything else that they did mention. One of them did say that, with the potential reopening of restaurants down the road, phase 2, phase 3, wherever that would fit in, they're talking about, you could have only so many tables per square footage, and they'd have to be far apart, and you'd have to have a limited staff. You can't have like 20 people in the kitchen working. But they said, like, restaurants are probably going to have to go to disposable menus, possibly disposable plates and forks and that kind of stuff. And they're going to have to go to either hiring people to come in and do the sanitary cleaning every day. It's going to get expensive.
Yeah.
It's going to be an expense they didn't count. You had plates, you figure you got 200 plates, they're going to last you a couple of years. You get 200 styrofoam plates, they're going to be gone in a week.
Right.
And you're going to be buying them constantly. So, the state, the county, whatever, may have to think of ways to, have a better way to get a hold of that type of stuff at a cheaper price to keep those businesses going, at least for a while. So again, so much of what we have on the table is unknown. It's hard to talk about what's going to happen. I just hope that people can hang in there and be patient. Anything in the village, we sure hope you don't sit around and fret, that you pick up the phone and call one of our offices. If it's brush pickup, if it's police stuff, if it's your water bill doesn't seem right, if you have a question for codes, if you're a senior, there's places to call. And if in all of this, that mental health stuff starts to pile up, 211 is the number to call. And from what I understand, they have been quite busy.
Yeah, I'm sure. The part outside of COVID-19 is we had this beautiful weekend this past weekend. I went outside. We went to Chittenango State Park, and you get out and you start to feel a little bit better mental health. And then it's going to snow this weekend, and it's silly, but that plays on you mentally. Like, you get, the cold weather coming back in. It's hard to wrap your mind around the fact of, okay, we can get outside, we can function, even if it's just yard work or something, to take your mind off everything. And then all of a sudden it's 40 degrees or 37 degrees, and the rain's turning into white flakes again. That mentally is challenging for a lot of people, myself included. It's just, you wake up in the morning and think, oh.
The Clarke household is right there with you. The sunshine is directly equal to the personalities that are on display. Much happier, much brighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand, there's people that had jobs where they worked 10 hours a day. They slept 8 hours a night. So there was a short window of sharing time with family, wife, husband, mother, father, whatever the situation. And now it's 24 hours a day that you're around, and your little quirks get bigger. And if you don't have a place to go, 211 is they have, whether you're a veteran, a senior, a parent, a child, they have different places they will send you to, agencies that deal with just that kind of stuff. And I'd rather they deal with it than have our police department have to come and deal with it later when it's a domestic situation. So I have one last thing. Sure. I want to show you something. This is a bit of retrospect. This is something I got in the mail the other day. This is Zach Britton, who pitches for the Yankees.
Hold it up a little bit higher. Okay.
It's an autographed picture of Zach Britton, who pitches for the Yankees. That's significant, particularly to Mike Leffencheck. But his father and I were best friends in college. And we graduated from Southern Illinois 50 years ago, June. First week in June. We didn't get to have a graduation either. It was, if you were watching the news last week, it was the anniversary of Kent State The shootings at Kent State, related to our invasion of Cambodia and bombings of Cambodia. Our college and a lot of colleges in Illinois got torn up by protesters. And so they announced that school was going to be shut down, no more classes. You were going to get the grades you had at the time. Well, I was a senior. I was only taking 2 courses. So they gave everybody pass fail. And we got our pass, but I told my buddy, Greg Britton, who's Zach's dad, I said, the thing that really hurts is that there's only, at that time, there was only one other person in our extended family of cousins and so on who had graduated from college. And I was so looking forward to walking across the stage and getting that diploma and have my parents be there, because I knew that particularly my dad, who was a Depression era child, grew up in a very tough time, would have been extremely proud of his little boy getting his diploma. And we didn't get, they came and picked me up about what would have been about a week before the regular graduation and packed me up and brought me back to New York. And so as my granddaughter would be doing next month, I would have been doing, except neither one of us would have that opportunity. And I got, as I look at the picture of Zach today, I think it's 50 years since his dad and I could not get our diplomas when we were supposed to. So it's on the wall. I did get it eventually mailed to me, but I missed that. But I survived. And I hope the kids have enough resources and other things in their life that someday they'll look back and say, "Oh, remember when?" It wasn't not so bad now when we think about it. They're unfortunately they're missing more than that. They're missing their proms and all that kind of stuff, and it is tough. But I hope that families can make their kids feel important. I know this adopted a senior thing has gone over pretty big so far, and we did get a message the other day. Somebody was looking for some sort of a parade to recognize the seniors. I just told them what I tell everybody: talk to the police chief. Because if you're talking seniors, we've got over 400 of them. If every one of them got in a car and drove around the village, that would be a long procession. That would be long, yeah. I don't know what the plans are. I know different people are proposing different things. My hat's off to all the seniors. I know they're missing out on their scholarship day. That was always a big day. Yeah. I know they're going to try to give the scholarships somehow, but that was kind of cool. And you got to see it on Pack B, and you go up and get your envelope. And so things are a little screwy, but somehow I hope we get through this, with everybody, with people like you who bring out the positives in what's going on in the community. Can't hurt. No. So hats off again to you. And if anybody needs me, feel free to contact me.
Thank you.
My email is Clarke@Baldwinsville.org.
I don't know if you've ever met my daughter, my middle child, Taylor. We're very similar, and she can find a positive. So Jordan is my first to graduate, right? Jordan was the first to do this. Allison, my youngest, is the last to do stuff. Well, Taylor's spin on this is she gets to be the first one to walk across the stage for graduation because Jordan's not getting to do it. So her positive COVID-19 is she gets to be the first at something because Jordan doesn't get to. And it's not funny, and I don't mean to be laughing, but it's just, you know what I mean? Like, to find the positive, to find the good, people have different ways of seeing things. So
yep, everybody hopefully finds something good out of something. Right. I'm sure your son's not happy to hear that.
No, well, no, but that's so. That in good. Yes, and I talked over your email address, Mayor. So if you give the email address one more time so people can reach out to you. What was it?
It's D. Clarke. That's Clarke with an E on the end at Baldwinsville.org.
Okay, perfect. So, well, thank you. We were a little bit late coming on because you had some mayor duty stuff to do. So obviously that's more important, but I always look forward to the information that you share. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you next week, because I don't think we're going to be back to normal next week, but maybe soon we'll have something. So
let's hope so. Thank you.
Bye.